Welcome to the Whiskey Hour Podcast. I'm your host, Phil Tross. I'm joined by my brother, my partner in crime, Pride. How you doing, man?
Another day in paradise. How you doing, Phil?
Hey, man, like you said, paradise, right? One step at a time. Before we get too deep, you can find us at the Whiskey Hour Podcast on YouTube and Facebook, and also under the Elite Sports and Entertainment Network on TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. Please give us a like, share, subscribe. And it's been a pretty busy week for me, man. I coach high school football, so we had this youth camp all week with like sixth, seventh, and eighth graders. So as it's been in like the blistering heat, because we have been having like severe heat warnings and stuff. So it's been crazy, man. What about you?
I have not. It's been like a week and a half straight where it's rained here, and I don't know what the sun looks like anymore. It's just it's literally lunacy, dog. Like I'll go out and it'll rain, and I'm like, oh wow, cool. It'll be better tomorrow. Then it rains more the next day than it did the day before. I don't
Where are you
know.
at right now?
I'm in Florida. I don't know why.
Oh wow, dude.
Yeah, I don't know why. My wife was like, "Yeah, I want to move to Florida," and I was like, "Okay, cool, let's go." And I am drowning, and I'm not near a beach. I don't get this place. I do not get this place at all.
Look, I'm thinking you about to say like you're in somewhere like Washington where it rains a lot, but you're in Florida. You're supposed to get that sunshine, man.
I thought the same thing. That's why I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll be good going there." And as soon as I got here, it was like, "Oh yeah, Uno reverse. Here you go, typhoon, tsunami, water." I'm like, "Can I breathe, bro? Like this is crazy."
Man, so it's been a crazy year for sports, but it's a good time right now. Obviously, we have the Olympics going on, but the football preseason just came back Thursday with the Chicago Bears versus the Texans. Predictably, none of the rookies played. Caleb Williams, I don't believe he played. CJ Stroud, with the year that he had, he's probably not going to play until maybe the last game of the preseason, if he plays at all. But who are some teams that you're kind of keeping an eye out for this year, man?
I have a few. The first one, obviously for me, maybe it's because I'm a little biased, but hear me out. The Patriots,
Ooh.
only because I don't know if you have heard it, but the last about 2 weeks, all of a sudden, there's this Drake May has not been looking good at all talk. And before this, it was this kid is great. He looks awesome. He's understanding stuff. He's got great chemistry. And that's kind of what everyone's been kind of saying. And then the last couple, like I said, last week and a half ish, all of a sudden it's like, no, this kid's all of a sudden been, he put pads on and he's struggling. It's a different story. His reads aren't looking good. His accuracy dropped and all this stuff. So for me, it's really then you got Jacoby Brissett saying, "Oh yeah, I'm the starter," and I'm like, "What?" So it's kind of like again, this is just a maybe because I'm just a New England Patriots fan, so maybe that's why. But it is very interesting with our quarterback situation with then also Matthew Judon is like kind of I don't want to say gone in the wind, but he's like, look, man, I will go home. And it's like so for me, it's kind of a combination. It's in my opinion, I think he's like probably our second or third best defensive player. Is he gonna be here? Or are we just gonna have to either trade him or cut bait with him? Because if I'm not mistaken, I believe this is his final year here. I believe this is his contract year, and obviously he kind of he wants more. So it's gonna be kind of interesting to see how that entire dynamic kind of finishes, how that thing kind of boils down to a point. It's gonna be kind of interesting to see. Drake May, because me personally, I don't think Jacoby Brissett is really gonna play. I think if he plays, it'll probably be like 2 or 3 games. For me, it's more like who's really going to be the starter going forward, Drake May or Joe Milton? That's kind of going to be like the thought process, kind of for me. So definitely one of the teams is New England Patriots. Offensively, the Chargers. They
Well, Herbert's hurt
have,
now.
huh?
Herbert's hurt now.
Which I'm gonna be real with you. Whether he's hurt or not, if I'm Justin Herbert, I'm taking a dive too.
Yeah.
I'm not even trying to like be funny, but when my number one receiver is a guy who is allergic to touching the football, when my number one receiver fumbles the ball more than I fumbled my dates back in high school, I do not know if I'm Justin Herbert. I'm doing the same thing. And obviously, when I'm kind of frying the wide receiver position, I'm talking about the man, the myth, the legend himself. I don't even know really, but Quentin Johnson,
Give it up for Quentin.
I mean, I've never in my life seen a dude the fall from grace. This needs to be studied. So for me, it's really like, what's really going to be their offensive identity? Because, like I said, I mean, maybe they're going to try to make DJ Chark the number one. Let's say, for the sake of argument, DJ Chark is your number one.
Yeah. He's
a number two guy, desperately going to try to be a number one. And then everyone else is like a third option at best. They really don't have that guy that they can. And even same thing at the tight end position, too. The best guy that they got really tight end wise is probably what? Parham? Maybe. Donald Parham Jr. Maybe. I mean, they got Hayden Hurst, who is kind of like a good 5-and-in guy, but in terms of like going deep, I don't really trust him like that because he doesn't even have the speed for his separation. In terms of his body, he doesn't really use it to be a great possession guy. So it's going to be interesting to see what these, are they really going to be a run first guy? Because now if you're going to be a run first guy, you're leading the way with J.K. Dobbins, whose last few years has been nothing short of an injury magnet. So, but that for me, those are just a couple because I think this year is going to be, for some teams though, it's going to be hilarious. And obviously, I think the elephant in the room, the Houston Texans. I just can't wait to see C.J. Stroud just go stupid because he was going lit with Tank Dell and he was going lit with everyone, and now all of a sudden, freaking, you give him a top 5 wide receiver. My concern,
and Joe Mixon,
and right, but here's my concern. Phil, here's a question I posed to you: how long till Stephon gets mad?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
I think it's gonna happen.
CJ Stroud had a phenomenal year last year, man, and it's really, for as much as these teams be rushing these QBs to start nowadays, really only a handful of QBs that really start and have a great first year. So I got to see CJ Stroud do it again. I'm a believer in him, especially his story and his background. But we know the stigma with Ohio State quarterbacks, right?
Yes,
How many of them have been truly successful? So I want CJ to break. I mean, I want Justin Fields to succeed, right? So I want CJ to break the mold. Which, I mean, you hit on some good points. Like, even if you go back to your Patriots take, right? All I've seen over the past 5 days is Joe Milton's been crushing camp, bro. Powerful arm, super athletic. And I wasn't really a Drake May fan coming out of North Carolina. He had that one great year, and he took a step back. And we've seen that how many times, whether it's Matt Barkley at USC or Jake Locker at Washington or Christian Ponder. Like, the list is long, right? And so it'd be really damning if a 6th-round pick outshines your 1st-round pick, and they both are on equal playing fields. And then you got Matt Judon, bro. What did your boy? He might have to be a trade candidate, man, because you can't have him trying to one-up your first-year head coach, man. Now he's setting a precedent in the locker room, bro. Like, what is he doing, Pride?
I don't know, but like I said, to your point, this is going to be the first test, and it's crazy how it's happening this early, but this is going to be the first test for Jerod Mayo you now have a disgruntled. I don't know if we still want to call Matthew Judon a superstar, but at the bare minimum, he's a star.
Yeah.
And he's a guy who, if you put him on the trade block, everyone and their mother is gonna come and at the bare minimum feel out the situation. So there's gonna be a very interesting first challenge for for Jerod Mayo. Is he gonna be able to ice it over? Can he smooth the bridge? And then is he gonna know when to cut bait? Because the problem with a lot of first-time head coaches, they're on either side of the extreme. Either A, they just, oh no, you do what you want. It's okay. Don't worry. And then they let this player kind of run rampant. Or it's the opposite side where, oh, you don't want to be here? Bro, I will cut you before the Hall of Fame game. Play with your mama. Like, it's kind of interesting. And so far, it seems like he's not either side. He's kind of been in the middle. He's kind of been like, yo, bro, are you going to play or no? No? Oh, you want to talk money? That's not why I'm here. Go talk to the GM. Just go somewhere else. When you're ready, you come see me. And if you don't want to play, we'll figure it out from there. So far, he's kind of handling it the best he could. But eventually, I'm pretty sure the GM's going to look at him and go, yo, what do you want to do with What do you want to do with Matthew Judon? Are we keeping him or we're moving on? So, so far, he's handling it right. Now, it's good that it happens now instead of later because him being a veteran, he's really not going to play the preseason at all. He's probably not. So it's like, if he's missing games now, it's not too much of a deal. It still gives you time to kind of get everything together. But it's a first test for Jerod Mayo. And for me, I want to see how he handles it because I genuinely believe that this is going to be the standard that he's going to hold everyone else accountable going forward. And I want to see, are you going to try to be Bill Belichick or are you going to try to be Jerod Mayo? Because me personally, I don't want you to be Belichick. Because if we're going to be honest, there's only one Belichick. So I just want him to handle it the way he wants to. And as long as he does that, I got faith in him going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately, they'll be fine. Like, they even would open up like a new players' lounge to give the players a place to relax and kind of be themselves. So, I mean, I think his mind is in the right direction. It's going to take time, man. Bill Belichick, for as brilliant as he was, to me, in my opinion, he wasn't that good at drafting players, man, that weren't like legitimate, obvious stars. So, I mean, he has a very bare cupboard as far as talent to deal with. But we'll see where they go. And then the Chargers, man, I wasn't a Justin Herbert fan coming out of Oregon, but then he proved me wrong in the league. But just the way the team has responded and how what they've done year in and year out, to me, he's just another Phillip Rivers as far as he'll win a few games, but is he going to win the big one? I think the league is too competitive for what they got going on over there. Like you said, they get rid of Keenan Allen. They get rid of Mike Williams, send him to New York, or he goes to New York. Their best player might be their rookie receiver from Georgia, Ladd McConkey. So that's saying something, man. I believe they said that Herbert should be ready for the season, but he's dealing with I want to say like an ankle injury or something like that.
They got him in a boot.
So exactly, yeah. So I don't have much faith in them, but I think the Chiefs take a step back this year. I mean, they weren't offensively, they weren't that great last year, but with Mahomes, you find a way to win games, and they had a good defense. You still got Chris Jones, but they got rid of some of their key defenders. Kelsey's getting older. He had a good year statistically, but it wasn't a great year. He came alive in the playoffs, but what do they do with the receiver position? They drafted Xavier Worthy, who's a speedster, but he's giving off John Ross vibes to me, low key. So, I mean, is he another speed guy who can't catch the ball, or is he going to be more of a Tyreek Hill, So we'll see what they do. I think Baltimore takes a step forward, having Derrick Henry in the backfield, man. Tua, he's good for what the Dolphins have going on, but they got to take that next step, bro. You can't have Tyreek, Waddle, and now OBJ, and you losing the playoffs like that, bro. Your team is too great. Jalen Ramsey on defense, like you can't. Y'all gotta make it happen in the playoffs, man. Green Bay, Jordan Love has to prove it to me. Again, I want to see what CJ Stroud does in year 2, but they have a squad, like you said, they got a squad this year, man. I'm a Saints fan, so I have no faith in Derek Carr, bro. None.
Okay. Matter of fact, I'm glad you said that. So I have been hearing Saints fans saying that they basically don't want Derek Carr to even see the field this year. They're kind of over and fed up with him. So here's a question I'm gonna pose to you.
Yeah.
Supposedly Spencer Rattler's been looking phenomenal. Do you just say bump it? We're gonna I'm not gonna say rebuild because you guys still got some pieces to at least be a wild card team. So it's not like a rebuild, but it's kind of like a changing of the guard. Like, are you ready to just be like, yo, Spencer, there's your opportunity. We're gonna throw you in. Let's get you acclimated to everything. Or are you gonna give him 1 year where he's just sitting and as much as it pains you, just rock out with Derek Carr for 1 year at least?
In my opinion, I think you need to get rid of the whole team, right? Outside of like, I mean, obviously you keep not his. I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. Our DN. I can't believe that, bro. I can't believe I'm forgetting my boy's name, dog. I should be embarrassed. Cameron Jordan. Dang. Like you keep him, right? And some of your Tyrann Matthew, some of your key vets, right? But like if you win too many games, you're not getting a high draft pick. And we aren't competitive enough to really have a shot at the Super Bowl, right? Derek Carr is who he is. I think he's a quality starter, but I don't think he has enough of the physical traits or the intangibles to get us over the hump, especially in the competitive. Well, the NFC South isn't competitive, but the NFC as a whole is kind of competitive. So, I mean, I think our issue was the contracts, man. So if we could find a way to trade these contracts, right, get out of Marshawn Lattimore's contract, get rid of Derek Carr. I'm a huge Alvin Kamara fan, but he's a running back. We gotta trade him and do a full scale rebuild. I don't want to rush Spencer Rattler because I mean I followed him through his whole high school journey through the Netflix TV series. I think he's a phenomenal talent. But he had some turnover issues because he has that gunslinger mentality. I think he kind of fixed him a little bit at South Carolina. But I don't want to rush him, right? I want him to be able to kind of sit for a year or two. But I would say we got to rebuild, bro. I don't want to use the word tank, but let's rebuild the team, man. Let's shoot for a high draft pick. Let's get rid of some of these contracts to give us some more cap space because we're not winning the division this year. I don't believe Atlanta's just incredibly too strong. With Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier. Who else they got? The defense is revamped, right? You got Kirk Cousins, and you got freaking who's the other quarterback they drafted this year that caused controversy?
Brother, man, that was crazy to me how they paid not Derek Carr. Well, kind of the same thing. Squint hard enough, but yeah, they gave Kirk Cousins like I think it was like $100 million contract, and then they drafted Michael Penix. It's like, what are you doing? Like, wait, what? Like, to me, that was a little weird, but because now it's like, let's say, because with that money, you're not gonna bench Kirk Cousins unless he's hurt, right? So unless he's hurt, that's really the only time we're gonna bench him. So now you've got this weird situation where by the time Kirk Cousins' contract, expires, you only got Michael Penix for 1 year before he can just walk away. So that's going to be very intriguing because that joint is going to be hilarious.
And I mean, that pick really flipped the whole draft on its head, bro. Because like you said, right? I think the biggest issue is that a lot of that money is guaranteed. So like you said, you want to keep your $100 million guaranteed quarterback on the bench. Like if that money wasn't guaranteed, then you could probably obviously find ways to cut them or trade them at some point in time and start your boy. But like they had so many needs on defense. It's like, bro, like really?
Man, and it's kind of crazy because what I thought they were gonna do, and maybe it's a possibility I'm looking at it wrong, but I was looking more for like the defensive side, right? I thought they were gonna get I thought, a guy like Kool-Aid would probably be on their board, a guy where you want a young guy on the defensive end who had been able to just do what you know what I mean? That's what I thought. Because if you look at their team offensively they weren't bad. They just didn't have a quarterback.
Yeah.
That's all. They didn't have a quarterback, and they were trying to play as if they had a quarterback. which was the reason why they were set back in a lot of ways, you know. So for me, I'm looking at it, I'm like, you know, I thought, you know, him or I always butcher his name, um, Lassitier, the one that
Yeah,
Houston got.
yeah.
Yeah, that quarterback. I thought that's another guy that could have kind of potentially fit what they wanted to do, but then they went. And mind you, I don't hate the Michael Penix pick. I don't hate it because I think he could pan out to be a very good quarterback. My problem is that it's dumb to draft that kid
Mm-hmm.
that early when you just got Kirk Cousins for, you know, you just paid him 100 mil guaranteed. To your point, if it was like, all right, look, we'll give you like 30 guarantee as like a signing bonus, and then the rest is like you play on a week-to-week basis. Okay, now we got something because now you really only got 30, and that's not too much. But
Exactly.
ugh.
I mean, and I got the draft pulled up right here. I mean, so I think overall, from a defensive perspective, it was a bit of a weaker draft, but you still had Dallas Turner from Bama, the edge rusher, who went top 17. You had Jared Verse, the edge from Florida State, who went number 19 to the Rams. So I mean, cornerbacks, there's so many different options that could have went, but I guess they must have really had to love him to waste the number 8 pick on him.
They must have, because like I said, for me, it was like I was just kind of perplexed because it's like, you know, and again, the name that you're bringing up, you know, the Dallas Turner, he got drafted 17th, and the Falcons had the 8th pick.
Yes.
So, and mind you, when they got to them, not a single defensive player was drafted because it was mostly quarterbacks. I think it was a couple wide receivers. I think it was Malik and Marvin Harrison that went, and I think an offensive lineman was in there, maybe 2. But again, all these were defensive players. So for me, it's like a lot of the guys that you could have had, they were still available.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you having top 8, no defensive players being picked, and you need a defensive player. I thought that was the route they were going to go. Apparently not. But I'm not, like I said, I'm not knocking the pick because I do like Penix, but I'm knocking. You got to do one or the other. You either draft this young cat and see where you go, or you rock with Kirk Cousins for 100 mil. But doing both is just perplexing at the bare minimum.
And it's crazy to close the loop on this, right? It's crazy because Penix is an older guy, 25, 26, and he's coming with 2 torn ACLs, right? So now you got 2 injury-riddled quarterbacks on your roster, or with extensive injury histories, and they both are older guys. So, I mean, how long is that window going to be for Penix? And like you said, right, the first defensive player didn't come off the board until pick 15. That was Laiatu Latu with the Colts, right? So I'm not a GM, but let's say that number 8 pick, they could have traded down to the first round, got a defensive player, and maybe got an extra first-round pick or something for next year. Like,
who knows?
It's things they could have done.
And the thing is like, with that 8th pick, people would have been desperate. So I wouldn't be surprised if you could have dropped and been like, yo, we'll give you, let's swap, and then I'll give you a 2nd rounder.
Yep.
For this same draft or something like that. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know, man. What a time to be alive.
It's crazy, bro. So Pride, give me your top 5 teams that realistically have a shot at winning the Super Bowl this year.
Realistically?
Yep.
Oh, Lord. So for me, I don't want to be mean and make it seem like there's no chance, right? But I genuinely believe there's only a couple teams. So number 5 is, I'm gonna put the Lions. I like the direction that they're going. I've always liked Jared Goff. I never thought he was a bad quarterback. I thought he was a solid quarterback. You just had to put the right pieces around him. And that's what they've been doing. And now, since day 1, this team has bought everything Dan Campbell has given them. And that is like a big thing. Because as a player, when you're believing in your coach, and not only is your coach holding you accountable, but this man is screaming at the officials, not caring if he gets tossed. He's screaming at them for you. That just makes you want to just run your head through a brick wall. So for me,
Facts.
5, I like what they're doing offensively and defensively. I like the momentum that they've been doing. Each year they're getting better. They're all getting their chemistry better. So 5, I'm gonna put the Lions. Number 4, this one is a reach, but Houston.
Okay.
And it all comes down to, like you said, CJ Stroud had a great rookie year. But that track record of Ohio State quarterbacks, I believe he's going to be the exception to that rule.
Yeah.
And everything he's showing us, they've clearly the team is bought into him because now they're giving him even more offensive help, right? Like not only Stephon, but like you touched on earlier, Joe Mixon, right? So now you got a Joe Mixon who you can run the ball or throw out of the backfield. You got another true, legitimate number 1 option in Stephon. On the other side, you're gonna have Nico, and then you still got Tank Dell. So
Crazy work.
It's gonna be wild. So, especially with the way they just run and gun, like because when they're in their momentum, they're just flinging it. They're just flinging it. So I'm with it. Solid defense too. So I'm gonna put them 4. 3, and I'm doing this one hesitantly.
Okay.
I really don't want to put them 3, but I'm gonna go with the Eagles.
Ooh.
You have an older Fletcher Cox that I'm not gonna say he's not it, but he's older. You just lost Jason Kelsey. I do like them getting Saquon. I really do. But my concern, it might be too little too late. I think the injury, the toll, I think everything that he, in essence, endured in New York, I think that's gonna, that's kind of, it for him, right? Now, I don't think he'll be a bum, but this workhorse stuff that they probably want him to do, he won't be able to do. But I still think that all around, I think they have enough to be able to at least still legitimately contend, because it would be a shame for them to last year be on the high, they were on a high note, and all of a sudden now they're gonna fall face up. I really hope that doesn't happen. I like Jalen Hurts. That is my dude. I really hope I'm wrong about Saquon because as I don't want to wish injury on anyone, so I really hope I'm wrong. But I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna put the Eagles 3rd because I still do think they have enough leadership pieces to be able to push forward and be able to kind of, even though they're losing some pieces, they've gained some as well. So I'm gonna be nice for now. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. By the way, let me correct myself. I completely forgot Fletcher Cox retired. So
he did.
Kind of makes it even worse. Yeah. So now instead of having an Fletcher Cox, you got no Fletcher Cox. So and then 2, I got the Chiefs.
Okay.
I understand what you're saying about the Chiefs taking a step back. But I hate this kid with a passion. I don't like him. I don't wish bad on him. I don't know if you heard me say this before, but I hope Patrick Mahomes sets his alarm for 6:00 in the morning and he wakes up at 5:59. That's the type of hatred I got for Patrick Mahomes. It is Steph Curry level hate that I have for this dude. I hope when he wakes up and he goes, you know what? I want to drive the Rolls Royce. I hope it has no gas and he got to settle for the Lambo. That's the level of hatred I got for Patrick Mahomes. So it pains me to say this. If there's a will, there's a way. And this kid will somehow, with nothing, will make a way. And I understand you got an older Travis Kelce, right? And Travis Kelce, like you said, he was solid, but there were some games, especially towards the end, where he wasn't looking like Travis. And a lot of people were saying, you getting like this towards the end, you must be losing a step. The season's finally catching up. So I'm not going to sit here and, that's a legit possibility. Travis Kelce still, I think now they're going to use him a little differently. So instead of him running the field, I think he's going to be more of a 7-in type of tight end. I think that's the best way you can really kind of preserve him. I don't want to say preserve as if he's like injury prone, but man was looking exhausted towards the last 3-4 games of the season. He was looking exhausted. So it's kind of like me, I would kind of want to, kind of be careful with that, right? Obviously, they lost some key defensive pieces but again, this team outside of last year has never been looked at as a defensive team. They've been looked at as a running gun, light them up team on the offensive side of the ball. So obviously you have, and I don't like this guy. I don't get what the love is for Isaiah Pacheco. I don't get it. People say he runs angry. I mean, I would run angry if I looked like him too, I guess. But running angry doesn't always mean you know what you're doing. You know who else used to run angry? Trent Richardson. He'd run angry, missing the hole. So I don't understand this whole he runs angry narrative, but it is what it is. Let me
Trent Richardson.
I mean, he did the same thing, But again, I'm looking at their wide receiver room. They got Rashid Rice, which obviously I don't know if he's even going to play because of his entire, off the field situation that he's going through right now. So now it's like, and it's a shame too, because towards week 4, 5, Patrick Mahomes was really liking him as a target.
Mm-hmm.
He really was liking him. So now it's like, you got Kadarius Toney, who, okay, we were talking about Quentin. Okay, Kadarius Toney. Quentin can't catch. Kadarius can't think. So I don't know which is worse right now.
He got benched for the Super Bowl, man.
Yeah, like get your life in order. And mind you, just 2 years ago, he was arguably their Super Bowl MVP. So talk about a fall from grace, right? But I do think that they have enough pieces. Obviously they brought back McCole Hardman, and when they brought him back, he kind of, because me personally, I think McCole Hardman won't work anywhere except 2 places, Kansas City and Buffalo, because you got a quarterback who will just wing it, because he's just a speed demon. He's kind of like a diet Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
He's not going to give you routes because that's not his forte. He's just going to run, and you need to hope your quarterback, your corner is not faster than me. So, but I do think they have enough. Never mind the fact that they got Hollywood, and I'm a big fan of Hollywood Brown. So I think the last couple of years he's kind of got the short end of the stick because him and Kyler just never were on the same page when he was in Arizona. So for me, it's like I genuinely like, Hollywood. It's crazy. He's been here for 6 years. He's been in the league for 6 years. And I'm talking about Hollywood like he's a 13-year veteran. It's crazy to me. But yeah, I think the Chiefs have enough to be able to do something. Now, obviously this year, number one, and in my opinion, I think you can mix up 2 through, like if we're making a top 10, I think you can mix up 2 through 8. I think, you can kind of mix them in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
As long as number 1 is the 49ers.
Wow.
I have absolutely no. For me, this is just me. This is the final year I'm giving the San Francisco 49ers. After this year, and I know a lot of people have already jumped off. For me, after this year, I'm not taking the San Francisco 49ers. Like, I'm taking them only half serious right now. I'm only taking them half serious. But I'm looking at this team and I'm like, if there's a year, it's got to be this one. Now, the only contingency I have is they smooth things over with Brandon Ayuk.
They got to fix that.
That's the only contingency, and I think they will. Genuinely. You'll be a moron to not fix it. But like defensively, studs on studs on studs, right? They got Travarius Ward, Nick Bosa. Obviously, we already know what it is with Nick Bosa. I mean, they got a guy that I genuinely do like a lot that I feel like people don't really talk about. Never could say his name for the life of me. But there's this dude. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, Fred Warner. Yeah, like they defensively, we already know they're studs. I was not a fan of Brock Purdy. I don't think he was really that. I think he was all right at best. Credit to him, he's fitting the system. He's doing what he has to do to get them wins, and as long as he keeps doing that, sky's the limit for them. I'm looking at a team that if they don't win it this year, you might have to potentially thinking about blowing this thing up. You might have to, because it's like what? 4? No, longer. What, 5 years? Because this mentality, right. Like this mentality has been going on for like 5 years, and like you said, they are what, in my opinion, 2 years away from becoming the Saints in terms of the situation where now you got to start being creative. Because the Saints, as much as they're in cap hell, I need to applaud them because they've been extremely creative on ways to kind of overcome the that kind of cap deficit that they've been in. I don't think a lot of other teams have that, either had the creativity or B, have, for lack of have the guts to be that creative.
Shout out Mickey Loomis.
Right, because even though you're being creative, eventually it's going to catch up to you.
Yeah.
And, if I'm San Francisco after this year, if I win a Super Bowl, then I'm still going to keep on going for broke.
Yeah.
But if I don't, at some point, you need to kind of let go and say, you know what? It is what it is.
Hold up, Pride. Hold up. So you didn't even mention 2 teams, bro. You didn't mention the Baltimore Ravens or the Bengals.
So for the Bengals, I have the Bengals at 6.
Ooh.
I'm looking. Listen, I like Joe Mixon, right? I really do. But it's a leg injury. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it might be the same leg that cost them, what was it, his rookie year when they were playing Washington, and his leg basically kind of exploded because they said it was an ACL, MCL, PCL, and meniscus. This man virtually, his leg was kind of just done for. But for me, it's like, even if it's the opposite leg, again, this is a guy who likes, not only you obviously need to plant and kind of throw the ball, but brother likes to go off script now. Can he be a strictly pocket quarterback? You know who else was who used to love going off script but can't be a pocket quarterback to save his life?
Who?
Russell Wilson.
Oh, that guy.
Remember, in Seattle, his bread and butter was, the play broke down. Oh, I'm with it times 10. He was with it. Now he can't do it because that's his athleticism is gone. How much is his injury gonna rob the athleticism of Joe Burrow?
The NFL thinks that Joe Shiesty is the second best quarterback in the league.
With no injury, I think you can make that argument. Him coming back, I want to see. I need to see how he kind of reacts to it, how he plays. Is he going to play more timid? Is he going to say, you know what? Let me chill back on the running and be a pocket quarterback. Can he be that pocket quarterback? There's that. Now, for Baltimore, I don't know why people think they have a chance. I don't know. Nothing has shown me, at least with the Niners, they made a Super Bowl. So at least they can look in the mirror and say, we made it, so we're right there. Congratulations. The Baltimore Ravens got up, they get eliminated in the wild card. That's only because they won the division. Had they didn't win the division, they would have lost in the wild card like they've done every year. I'm not a fan of Lamar. Every time you need him to throw the ball, he just can't. Which is a shame because he's with his athleticism, If the kid was just an average thrower, yo, he could be better than freaking Patrick Mahomes.
I mean, he won the MVP last year, though.
Oh, no. It's cool. It's don't get it twisted. That's why I'm not saying he's a bum. He's not a bum by no stretch of the imagination. But every time you see it, when it's time for him to throw the ball, he can't do it consistently enough for people to actually respect it. Because what is everyone, and especially in the playoffs, what do you do? What are you gonna do with Lamar? Oh, we're not stacking the box. Instead, we're gonna put a spy on him, and then we're gonna have our linebackers line up outside. So now it's kind of like a little bootleg version of a contain. And then not play angles. Because if you notice, a lot of the times that Lamar struggles, it's against linebackers who know angles.
Yeah.
Look, we're not beating you in the foot race. But I promise you, point A, point B, hypotenuse. Oh, yeah, geometry. Well, I will meet you there. I dropped my mic. But that's kind of my thing with the Ravens. I'm not really big on them. I haven't really been big on them like at all, to be honest. And I don't see the love affair. I understand Derrick Henry, that Derrick Henry's coming. I want to see what Derrick Henry they're getting. Are they going to get the Derrick Henry that was? I'm not going to say go get Derrick Henry from 4 years ago. I'm not going to be that dumb. But are you going to get the Derrick Henry from 2 years ago, or are you going to get last year's Derrick Henry? Because Derrick Henry last year, sure, he didn't look the same, but he still looked solid. And then there's Derrick Henry two years ago that a blade of grass was tackling him. Rashad Bateman, they've been waiting for this dude to step up for 4 years yet. About this kid's potential, and they're still waiting for him. I understand you got the safe hands of Mark Andrews. Outside of Mark Andrews, and I'll put Rashad Bateman in there because even though it's been inconsistent,
Zay Flowers been off last year.
Yeah, so can he do it again though? I don't think so. I don't. Let me not say I don't think so, because that's also kind of being a little harsh. Because Zay Flowers ain't a bum. He ain't a bum. But for me, it's like the way I'm looking at this entire roster. I think it's gonna be another year of overdependence on Mark Andrews, throwing him those little 3 to 5 yard dumps. And because again, I'm looking at it, they got Nelson Aguilar, who's the most confusing wide receiver in the history of the NFL. A routine play the man can't make, but you give him a horrible throw, make him have to jump through a 360 one-handed, touch his toes inbounds type of play. Man does that in his sleep. So, God bless him. But, I'm looking at it and it's like, yo, if Zay Flowers can repeat what he did last year, then maybe we can have a conversation. But at the same time, I don't think he can. Rashad Bateman for me is a little too inconsistent, and for a wide receiver room that honestly needs a clear-cut number one, they're kind of screwed right now. Because now your number one receiver, you're kind of stuck between Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman, and both of them you're hoping they can fill it. It's not really a situation where they've shown you, oh, I've been a number one for 3 years before. It's a situation where, Zay, can you repeat what you did last year? Yo, Rashad, can you step up? Because we've been waiting for you. So it's kind of like, for me, there's just a little awkwardness to this roster that right now I don't have any confidence in. Now, 4 weeks in, I think we'll have a better picture. Because if 4 weeks in, Zay Flowers is balling out like he was last year, now we got a different conversation. Now, obviously, we're going to have to put Baltimore in the top 5. And you know what I mean? That won't even be a debate. But until I see that, I'm not comfortable calling these guys could they win the division? Sure. For sure. But again, who else is in the division? You've got Pittsburgh, who's
trash.
I mean, let's call it what it is. The only legit competition they have in there is the Bengals, and again, Bengals are kind of, I'm not going to say reeling, but I mean, Joe Burrow, I understand people are saying Joe Burrow looks nice and all. I get that. Never mind the fact, not even mention this, T. Higgins. Remember, he's like, yeah, I don't want to be here anymore because I want to be a number one. I want to get treated like a number one.
He wants his money.
He wants his money. So, he did sign that 1 year because they designated him.
Yeah, they franchise tagged him.
They hit him with that franchise tag. So he signed it. So he'll play this year, but it's his. And I'm not gonna say I'm not trying to say that he's weak-minded, but is his heart really gonna be there? Because think about
it. You got to think too. He got drafted before Jamar. He's been a pretty good player for him for 4 years.
He's been a very great player. So it's like, so for me, for T. Higgins to say this stuff, maybe you look at it differently. I don't think he's bugging for feeling this way.
No, and I think if the Bengals are smart, they're going to trade him for something instead of him leaving for nothing. So
right, and it's a shame, but and as much as I like T. Higgins versus Jamar, that's not really a conversation, respectfully.
And it's tough. It's tough because we're in a passing league now. So even an ordinary receiver can look extraordinary on any given day, but they're just two different receivers. T. Higgins about 6'4", right? Jump ball man, and Jamar Chase is about 6 foot, 6'1", but he's a supreme athlete, right? So it's pick your poison, man. But you definitely had some hot takes with your picks, man. Again, you didn't mention the Bengals in your top 5, Baltimore, or even the Bills, which I don't trust the Bills no way, so I ain't even mad at you.
No.
But okay, last take, and then we're gonna close on this. Who was your pick to win Super Bowl this year?
I'll say 49ers. I'll say 49ers. I think this year, I think they finally get it done this year.
Hey, y'all heard it here first. So we're gonna come back to this podcast in about 6 weeks from, about 6-7 weeks from now. See how the season is folding. But Pride picked the 49ers as his Super Bowl champ. So we'll see where they're at in 6-7 weeks.
Why do I feel like now they're not even going to win the division and they're going to get bounced in the wild card? Like now, because I opened my mouth, now they're going to look terrible, bro. Brandon Ayuk is going to be gone. Debo's hurt. Freaking Christian McCaffrey's holding out. What a time to be alive.
Hey, but once again, man, I'm joined by my brother Pride. This is the Whiskey Hour Podcast. You can find us again on the Elite Sports and Entertainment Network on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Give us a like, subscribe, follow, and just follow us for all of your sports content, all of your life content, music, love, politics, sneakers, whatever it is. But give us a like, give us a follow, give us a share, man. Pride, appreciate you as always, brother.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll see y'all again.
Yes, sir.